I got a text from a friend the other day, and he was asking me a question that I've heard quite a few times over the years, so I wanted to take a few minutes and talk about it right here. So my friend was interested in buying a big piece of land for himself, 100 acres, maybe even up to 500 acres, where he and his family could start a farm. And he was going through my course, the Land Investing Masterclass, trying to figure out the best way to find a deal like that. And as I was trying to help guide his thoughts and how to think through this, I realized something. His whole approach was actually kind of flawed because he was trying to use a land flipping strategy to solve a consumer's land buying problem. And those are two very, very different things. So I want to break this down because if you've ever caught yourself thinking, I want to find my dream property through this business, you need to hear this. So here's the thing most people don't think about when they're getting into land flipping. There are really two completely separate mindsets at work here, and they kind of work against each other if you try to combine them. So mindset number one is the consumer buyer's mindset. This is someone shopping for land they want to use. They care a lot about the location and the views and the usability and the access and the soil quality, proximity to town, all that emotional, personal stuff, which is totally understandable. If I was buying a piece of land to use myself, I would care about all the same things. They have a vision in their head of what they want their life to look like on that property. And that is totally fine if you're just a regular buyer and if you're actually going to use this property for yourself. However, mindset number two is the land flipper. And this is someone looking for any property where there is a big gap between what it's worth and then what they can buy it for. Now, do things like location and beauty and size matter? Absolutely, but they matter for different reasons. A land flipper cares about those things because they affect how easily and quickly the property will resell. So they're not asking, would I want to live here? Instead, they're asking, will a buyer want this? And can I buy it cheap enough to make a healthy profit? What matters most is the spread, not the land flipper's personal preferences. They're hunting for a margin, not their dream homestead. But what really matters is that land flipper is able to acquire that property at a dollar amount significantly below its actual market value, whatever that market value happens to be. And here's where the real problem comes in, right? The moment you start mixing these two mindsets together, you compromise the very thing that makes land flipping work. I mean, think about what gives you the power in the negotiation process. As a land flipper, it's really your ability to walk away. When you're making offers on dozens of properties, you don't necessarily care which specific one you end up with in the end, as long as you get something that's significantly below its market value and relatively easy to sell, you have all the leverage. And if a seller says no, you just move on to the next one. There's no emotional attachment. There's no heartbreak. It's just business. But the second you find a property and think, oh man, this is the one. This is where I want to build my cabin. This is where I want my kids to grow up. What starts happening? Your leverage evaporates because now you can't just walk away. You've already started dreaming about it. You've already started planning your life around it. And you, as a consumer buyer, are going to stop negotiating as hard. You're going to start rationalizing a higher price to yourself. You might tell yourself, well, it's a little more than I wanted to spend, but it's perfect for us. And just like that, you've already talked yourself into paying more than you should, or at least more than a land flipper should. And that puts you in a terrible negotiating position. And I'll be completely honest with you, this is one of those subtle traps that can really sneak up on people. You start out with the right intentions, looking for deals with big margins, and then you stumble across something beautiful and suddenly your business brain just shuts off and your consumer brain takes over. So what should you actually do? Let's say you're like my friend and you genuinely do want a big piece of land for your own personal use. That's a great goal, but here's how I would approach it differently than a land flip. First, I probably would not start with direct mail. And I know that might sound weird coming from me since direct mail is like a core strategy in the land flipping world. But when you're looking for a very specific type of property in a very specific area for your personal use, the odds of spending a bunch of money on mailers and still not finding what you want are frankly pretty high. Direct mail works great when you're casting a wide net and you're just looking for a big margin on whatever comes back. It doesn't work quite as well when you need something very particular and you need a huge discount on it. Instead, I'd probably approach it more like a normal buyer, honestly. I would search the MLS, I would check Facebook Marketplace and browse Craigslist and look on landsearch.com. I would find properties that are listed and start making offers, maybe in the 70 to 80% of asking price range, especially on listings that have been out there sitting for a while. Now, I know what some of you are probably thinking, but Seth, the MLS is overpriced. I want off-market deals. And yeah, sometimes that's true, but here's what a lot of people miss. Sometimes properties are listed terribly by a terrible agent. We're talking no pictures or bad pictures, bad information, the listing description makes no sense, and those properties can and will sit on the market for months or even years, and the sellers get more and more motivated over time. Just because something is listed at a certain price does not mean the seller won't take a lot less if given the opportunity. Now, it's true they're generally in a different mindset. The fact that they have it listed at all means they have some idea of what it's probably worth and they care more than the average person. But that doesn't mean they're not extremely motivated. And especially if it's been sitting out there for a while, they may be losing hope and willing to take a much lower offer. When I think of every on-market property I have bought over the past 10 years, I haven't paid the full asking price for any of them, not a single one. That may be an anchoring point that they start at, but that doesn't mean I can't make a lower offer and usually get it for a lot less than what they're asking for. Just because something is listed at a certain price doesn't mean the seller won't take a lot less. And remember, land is not houses, right? Land sells much slower than houses do in just about every situation, and financing is much harder for buyers to get, especially for bigger properties. There just aren't as many qualified buyers to go around. And because of this, land sellers are often in a very different category and mindset than house sellers are. They tend to be way more flexible on price than most people would expect, and if they know anything about selling land, and don't get me wrong, some of them don't, but if they have any history of selling land in the past, they're probably at least somewhat aware of the financing problem that land buyers have, and they're at least willing to talk about seller finance because in a lot of cases, it's not going to sell any other way, at least not anywhere near their full asking price. Now, I want to set some realistic expectations here. If you start making offers to listed MLS properties at 70 to 80% of their asking price, a lot of sellers and their realtors are not going to take you seriously. You're going to get blown off, and you're probably going to get blown off a lot. And that's okay, because that's how it works. On-market sellers generally have an on-market mindset, meaning, they listed their property at a certain price because that's what they think it's worth, and they're not necessarily in a rush. Now, that doesn't mean you'll never get deals this way. It just means you need to go into it with your eyes open and understand that the ones who do say yes tend to be the ones who are either desperate to sell or have a realtor who isn't doing them any favors, or they've just had it out there for a long time and things aren't working at their given asking price. Now, if you do want to go the off-market route and buy a property for your own personal use, cold calling or texting, in my opinion, works a little bit better than direct mail for this. You'll end up having a lot more conversations, and while the average motivation level might be lower than what you'd see from a direct mail response, you'll get way more engagement for a lot less money. And you can filter your list down tight in a tool like the Land Portal, so you're only reaching out to owners whose properties match exactly what you're looking for. And if you don't want to do all the calling yourself, there are plenty of cold calling agencies out there who would love to handle this step for you. So if you're really serious about trying to find a prime piece of land for your own personal use, what you could actually do is try both things at the same time. Start reaching out to off-market property owners through cold calls and texts, and start making discounted offers on listed properties that have been sitting the longest. Hit the MLS, hit Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, landsearch.com, LandWatch, land.com, all these different places. Cast a wide net, but cast it in the right pond. Now, here's the part I really want you to take away from this. Some of the best personal use properties I have ever come across showed up while I was doing normal land flipping business. In other words, I wasn't looking for them. I wasn't hunting for my dream property. They just kind of appeared in the mix while I was evaluating deals for profit potential, which is what I should have been doing as a land flipper. And that is really the healthiest way to think about it. If you're running a land flipping business first and foremost, keep running it like a business, right? Keep your offers low, keep your emotions in check, and keep hunting for margin. And if something incredible shows up along the way that you want to keep for yourself, awesome. That's a happy accident. Enjoy it. But don't go into this business hoping and planning to find your dream property, because the minute that becomes your primary goal, you've kind of stopped being a land flipper and started being a consumer. And consumers don't get the same deals that flippers do. So, to bring this all together, buying land to flip and buying land to use are two fundamentally different games, and they require different strategies, totally different mindsets, and different expectations. If you want land for personal use, approach it like a savvy buyer. Search listings, make discounted offers, cold call owners in your target area, and be patient. And if you want to flip land, then stay disciplined. When you're looking at properties you want to buy, you want to evaluate these through the lens of resale value and ease of selling, but not your own personal desires, because those don't really matter as a land flipper. Again, you're just looking for the margin, the profit potential, and the ease of selling that thing quickly. You want to keep your emotions out of the equation so that you can protect your ability to walk away. And if you keep those two mindsets separate, you're going to be better at both.